the whole meeting for Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. The meeting is hereby called to order. We're going to delay the approval of the minutes until the end of the meeting to make a small change. So we will go now to item 3 on the agenda, which is our zoning cases. The first case is ZAC 2025-00013.
All right, good afternoon. Christian Togmas. I serve as one of the planners here for the City of Birmingham. This first case is located within the Osipko Finley neighborhood. The applicant is Roger Lewis and the owner is Andrea Lewis. The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property from D5, which is our multiple dwelling district, to I1, which is our light manufacturing district, in order to allow for the parking and storage of 18-wheelers, also known as a truck plaza. The property is approximately 0.68 acres in size and is located at 1418 22nd Avenue North. Surrounding property to the north is zone D3, which is our single-family district. To the south is zoned I1, which is our light manufacturing district. To the east is zone C2, general commercial district, and D5, again, which is our multiple dwelling district to the west. The applicant proposes to use the subject property as a truck plaza for parking and storing of 18-wheelers. The trucks and trailers will be in use daily for approximately 12 hours per shift. Drivers are expected to depart from the property between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning and return approximately 12 hours later. No more than 4 trailers will be present on the property at any given time. Additionally, the applicant plans to coordinate and, this is not that one. The adopted long-range land use plan identifies the property as general commercial, and then I'm going to read through our staff comments. So from zoning, the property must be resurveyed into one lot through the subdivision committee process. From the landscape, a landscape buffer must be placed on the outside of the fencing as shown on the site plan, and the fence shall be placed inside the property lines such that there will be space between the fence and the property line to plant the landscape buffer. Now from stormwater, the applicant must apply for the following permits: a soil erosion permit and a civil construction permit. The property is not located within a special flood hazard area, and there were no comments from Birmingham DOT. Now the applicant went before the Osipko Finley Neighborhood Association on August 6th, and they voted 6 votes to support, 9 votes to not support. Now the applicant went before the ZAC on August 19th, and they voted 4 votes to approve, 1 vote to deny, with the following queue condition that only a truck plaza is to be permitted there. And that's the conclusion of the report.
Okay, is the applicant here to further explain? Please introduce yourself and give your address.
My name is Roger Lewis, address 1418 22nd Avenue North.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, can you further elaborate on what you're doing on this piece of property that you want to rezone from residential to industrial?
Pretty much everything that you guys have laid out for me to abide by, that's what we're going to do.
Do members of the committee have questions? Will these trucks be running all the time, or are they loading and unloading, or what are they doing?
Well, most times the truck's going to come back unloaded, so there's nothing going to be in there, and then they'll leave out to go get loaded and drop, come back.
Okay, so they're empty when they're parked on the lot, so it's just a parking lot. It's not a place where engines are going to be running and noise is going to be made and fumes are going to be produced, and because it is right next to a residential neighborhood.
Right, yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, so they're just parking.
Yes, ma'am, they're just parked.
Okay, well, that answers my question. Anybody else have a question? Do we have members of the public who want to ask questions or make comments? I think I see one. If y'all would have a seat on the front row or somewhere nearby, just in case you need to answer a question.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Anna Brown. I'm chairperson of our North Birmingham Framework Committee. I reside at 3115 24th Street North in beautiful North Birmingham. And we object to this so-called parking that they're going to be doing because they're going to be revving those motors up to leave 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It is right against a residential area. Now, at the ZAC meeting, there was a photo on the phone shown to try to make it look like there were trucks parked nearby. But the other trucks are way over on the other side of 16th Street. There are no houses over there. They have built a new Speedway service station. They don't have overnight parking on there. But we get a lot of trucks that will park on the side and on the ramps, especially if they're close to their time with DOT and they have to stop driving. So they will park on the street, but they are not parking on the lot. That is the closest that trucks park to there. That area where they're talking about is a residential area. There are people who live there. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, they don't need you out there cranking up no 18-wheelers to go and move. That has been residential, and we are asking that we do not change that from a residential to an industrial in that area, because there have been houses all along there, and as a matter of fact, the lot where they are, it used to be a church there before. I don't know, Mr. Lee might remember Forest Temple Church that was there, and they moved from that property. But there are houses all along there, and we have to protect our neighborhoods. They should not be subjected to this, and there are plenty other places that can be used to park your trucks overnight or whenever you need them, and they're already zoned for the proper zone for that. So we're asking you not to agree to change this from a residential. Thank you.
Okay, before you go.
Yes,
do you-
ma'am.
Do you have a copy of the same map that we have up?
I don't have that particular map with me. They didn't send me one like that on there, but I probably could get. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, in looking at the map. Are these residences? I guess
Yes, ma'am.
that's-
All of that off 14th Street, those are all residential on there. They tore down the apartments. There used to be apartments right there next to it on where that Finley Avenue runs, right there on the other side of 15th Street. There used to be apartments and stuff there. They tore those apartments down when they built the new ones on 16th Street and 25th Avenue when they did that. But those used to be apartment. All this area, except for where the purple is, that's part of the property that's owned by the railroad. But everything else there have been houses for years there. All that's houses, all that used to be residential. The truck stop where the closest one is parked, and it goes off the chart here. If you're over in this area, this is the other side of 16th Street and Finley Avenue, closest to where the Captain D's and the Popeyes is, right next to the freeway. That's where the trucks are ended up parking if they have to get off the road, if they are close to their DOT schedules. Other than that, we don't have any lots there for trucks to park on in that area. And for that to be right next to a residential area, that is not what we need to have there, not waking people up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That is our main argument on that. Preserve the residential areas.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Counselor Smitherman?
I see 1424 is a building. What is that building?
That used to be, there was churches and there used to be some houses there a long time ago. When they cleared that area off, if you've ever come down, let me see, if you ever come down Finley Boulevard
Yeah.
from, Arkadelphia, and if you remember, there used to be, right here, there's a part where you could bear off and you end up on 16th Street here without going straight down. And all of that area was all houses. There were houses and apartments. There used to be a restaurant that sat right over here at this area. These buildings are still there, but all of these have been torn down over there. All of these are occupied dwellings. Each one of these houses are occupied, and they don't deserve to be waking up every morning with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Counselor O'Quinn, we're on the first case under item 3, the 18-wheeler parking lot. So, thank you, Ms. Bennett.
Okay.
If the applicant would come back up. So, Mr. Lewis, tell us about this 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning truck business.
The 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning is a time where you can leave without being interrupted with a whole lot of traffic. But if we need to adjust the time, that's fine. It's no big deal. With the map that you guys have, we have real-time pictures that were taken yesterday. So you can see better of what it looks like instead of orange and red, to get a better understanding. Our lot adjoins a cafe. It used to be Sam's Cafe. So the building is actually together with our lot. There's no divider or nothing. And the lot that we have used to be apartment complexes. There was never no houses there. They tore them down because of drug infestations and other things. And by doing that, it reduced the crime there, so it's just a lot.
So the gray building at 1424 is still there?
Yes, ma'am, all the buildings. Right next to us is actually a car lot. There are cars everywhere. But if you guys just look at the pictures, it's all there instead of looking at the colorful variations.
And across the street,
Yes, ma'am, please come to the microphone and
Yes, ma'am.
introduce yourself.
my name is Andrea Lewis. Excuse me. Across the street, there are railroad tracks. When you come from the truck stop, there are two sets of railroad tracks. Once you get to the neighborhood portion of it, it veers off from 2 railroad tracks to 4 railroad tracks to 16 railroad tracks to 24 railroad tracks. And this is the oil refinery that's right across the street. When you talk about the activity that goes on, this is what we see too, are the 24 railroad tracks from an aerial view. And the neighborhood portion of it starts across the street, going west. There's a church and there's a home there. And we went from door to door, talking to the neighbors, all those neighbors that are there. And we got signatures that were notarized by a notary that was there with us. And we asked them, how did they feel about what we were doing? The immediate neighbors, all except one, signed a document saying, we're fine with what you plan to do. It doesn't interfere with our life and our lifestyle. Excuse me. But as far as the neighborhood goes, it's an empty lot. And when you talked about earlier what's on 14th, this is exactly what's on 14th. So it's not that you're waking up the neighbors. Today, I was taking my dad to the doctor. There was a train. I told my sister to come get my dad. I waited for the train that's right there where those homes are, in that area. It took that train 30 minutes to go by. Not only did it take that train, but another train came right by, blowing the horn. So that's a constant. That's not a every now and then or again thing. It's a constant. And even when I was coming here today, there were 2 trains on the track. So it's not that hearing a tractor start up is going to be a distraction, because there are constant trains going back and forth. And like I said, right behind the homes that were mentioned, there are 4 sets of tracks. 4.
Unfortunately, our drawing doesn't show any railroad tracks that I can find.
Oh, I have
Except
an
underneath.
area
I'm
view.
sure they're there. I know that they are. It's just our drawing doesn't show them. It's, I guess
They're
it's,
there because, as she mentioned, the railroad company, when she was talking to you, she mentioned the railroad. And that's what I got, was an aerial view of the railroad, starting from Snyder, where the express is. The train goes through North Birmingham, Norwood, and like I said, there are 2 sets.
Would you like to see the pictures?
well, that wouldn't hurt anything.
I bring them to you.
Is the whole book just pictures of this?
That's the lot. That's where we are. That's the building that adjoins us, it's commercial, it's the same lot. And that's the close-up of it. I can't really see.
That's a,
what's out
that,
there.
yeah, that's a fence.
Okay, that fence right there, that's the railroad yard. That's theirs.
rail yard is
Right here, that's that fence, that's right next to me. This is the building, and this is some of the call-out cars right there.
And is this the closest house?
Yes, and it's over there to the other side. Where we're coming in at, we're not even coming through the neighborhood. We're coming off the freeway, right there where the truck stop is, and then we're going back out the same way. There's no going through nobody's neighborhood.
Well, I think the only concern that was mentioned was the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. noise. I didn't hear anything about y'all driving through the neighborhood. Do y'all need to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change the time, it's no big deal. Nobody's tough on the time. It just makes it easier to get through traffic because nobody's really out there. Hey, we need to bump it up, it's fine.
How far could you bump it up? Could you bump it up to 7 o'clock?
Let's do it.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Well, it's like the noise ordinance. You can start making noise at 7 a.m. Okay. So, do any members of the committee, Dr. O'Quinn, you want to look at the pictures before we?
I think I'm good. I did have a question. So there's a part of the BNSF rail yard immediately to the south of this lot across 22nd Street. There's like a big gravel pad out there with a turnaround. I'm not over there every day. I know they store a lot of vehicles over in that area. I mean, what's kind of that used for, like, on a daily basis?
See 22nd Street.
Right, yeah, yeah, I know they store a lot of automobiles there, okay,
Which way? That's north.
gotcha. All right, thank you.
Okay, do any members of the committee have any more questions, or do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the full council with the condition that the time of operation be restricted to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded, and you're good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have one Q condition, and that's just as to time.
Are you removing the Q condition that was recommended by ZAC?
Oh, no,
Okay, keep that one.
no, this is just to prevent the 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. truck starting and driving. So, yes, ma'am, before we vote,
Again, I'm still Anna Brown. I grew up in this neighborhood. Where these houses are, when you come off 26th Street, there's a track that comes here and it cuts back south. By the time they start the area where the cars are being unloaded, where the tracks are switched and all of that, you're going into what is called the East Thomas Rail Yard. That is the yard that is, once you start that yard is further than these houses here before you get to it. It spreads once you get way past that. When you get down, if you know where Costa's Barbecue and all of that is on Finley, that's the area where the tracks start to spread. Because you can come in from East Thomas. If you are coming over Arkadelphia, you will see the largest of the track on the bridge when you're coming across there. Where these houses are, that's not where all the work is being done. The trains are coming into the yard and they go down further. The ones that have the automobiles, they go almost down behind where Richard's Meat Market used to sit. That's where they start unloading the cars there. They load and unload the cars in that area. And that's where all that is done. Then you have the one where they have the, I don't know what you call the thing, but where they pick those big trailers up off of the trains to get ready to put them down for the trucks. All of that is on that end closest to Arkadelphia. That is not here. So the only real noise is going to be with them cranking up those trucks in the morning. And we respectfully ask not to change any of the residential areas. We have a lot of I-1 areas that's still there that we haven't downzoned. And we're trying to preserve our residential areas there. So I'm asking you, for the sake of the people that live there, and some of those people have been there for years, since I was a little girl, okay? That tells you how long it's been, and I ain't gonna tell you my age, but, you know, a lot of them was there before then. And a few of those houses, at least 3 of them that I know, are generational houses that have been passed down through the family that's there. But they deserve to be able to get up when they want to get up and not have to get up to noise from an 18-wheeler being parked right next to their window. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Counselor, I have a question. It's related but not related. How long has this property been vacant? Y'all know?
When they did the apartments on 16th Street between 24th and 25th Avenue, that they did those new apartments that sit there, most of the people that live in the apartments that was here moved into those apartments. And once they finished that project, and I think it had to be somewhere maybe like 2015, 2016, when they built those apartments on the SIPCO? 2015. A lot of the people that was living down here moved into those apartments. Once everybody moved out of the apartments, that's when they went ahead and tore them down. Because actually the apartments needed more repair than it was worth. And since they was building a new project there, most of the people ended up moving over there. And so that's when they tore this down, and that's been empty ever since then.
Okay, so 10 years.
10 years. I'm just wondering if there was ever plans to develop anything on the property?
To try to rebuild some houses on it. If the railroad didn't get
Okay, and can the staff, can y'all just tell us how deep this buffer is that is required on this property? And what will be planted on it? The write-up says there's a buffer, but it doesn't say which buffer. A, B, C, D.
I believe it's a type C. Now, I'll read again what the landscape architect said. So they do show landscaping currently on their site plan, but it wasn't sufficient as they're missing the 10 understory trees that are still required in addition to what is provided currently on their site plan.
I don't see a buffer on the site plan. Am I missing something?
So on their site plan, they're showing all that buffer that goes around all sides of the property, which is those green,
Oh,
the
they look like potted plants?
panopause grass, boxwoods, and maple trees.
Okay, but how deep is the buffer? Is it 10 feet? Is it 20 feet?
So with a fence, it's 10 feet. And they are proposing a fence to go around this property.
And is the landscaping buffer inside the fence or outside of the fence?
So it has to be on the, on the outside, and that's what our landscape architect said in her comment.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that in the future, we have drawings that are more professional than this, that actually show, this has little hand-drawn trucks on it. And also, it doesn't have any dimensions. So that would be helpful, I think, for people on the committee, whoever they may be in the future, to be able to see actual dimensions. Okay, committee, are we ready to make a decision?
Yes.
We have a motion that has been properly seconded. Are there any other qualifications before we go on? Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded that we approve this with the Q condition and the buffer and everything that the ZAC suggested. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. So there's one no and two ayes.
Actually, can I want to change my vote.
Okay. You're changing it to
No.
no? So we have two noes and one aye. And that motion fails. So we will not recommend it to the full council for approval, but the next stop for this request will be the full council. So, we will move on to the next.
another motion? Okay. I move not to recommend, this zoning case to the full council.
Okay, so you're making you're making a new motion to not recommend it to the full council.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that. So now we have a second motion that has been approved and properly seconded, and that is to not approve this rezoning. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye,
Okay, so you're a no,
right.
and there are two ayes.
Yes.
So the committee is not recommending this rezoning to the full council, but it will go to the full council next for a vote. And then there'll be 9 people. So that's where we are. Thank you. Okay, the next item is ZAC 2025-00022.
Thank you. So once again, Christian Togmus, and I'm one of the planners here for the city. So this case is located within the Overton neighborhood. The applicant is Blake Brinson from the Stoa Group, and the owner is Lee Land Investment Partnership. So they're seeking to pre-zone territory proposed for annexation from B2, which is the Shelby County General Business District, and O&I, which is the Shelby County Office and Institutional District, to C2, which is the City of Birmingham General Commercial District, in order to allow for the construction of a new 280-unit multifamily development. The property is approximately 14.5 acres in size and is located at 7221 and 7277 Cahaba Valley Road. Surrounding property to the north is Zone QD5, which is our City of Birmingham Qualified Multiple Dwelling District. To the south is Zone PC, which is the City of Hoover Planned Commercial District, and PR1, which is the City of Hoover Planned Single Family District. The applicant plans to construct a new 280-unit multifamily development connected with sidewalks. There will be 3 buildings on site. Building 1 contains 185 units. Building 2 contains 95 units, and 1 standalone maintenance building. The breakdown of the units is 124 one-bedroom units, 132 two-bedroom units, and 24 three-bedroom units. Amenities on site will include a resident lounge, an indoor game room, co-working spaces, a resort-style pool, a fitness center, a dog park, walking trails, and a waterfront fire pit. The community will also have a full-time management team, and I'm going to go through the staff comments. So for zoning, the applicant must pursue a variance through the Zoning Board of Adjustment for the following items. So for the first one, over parking of 96 parking spaces. Number 2 is 50 bicycle parking spaces if none are provided. And parking is located within a front yard along Highway 119. And the dumpster is also located within a front yard along 119. And number 2 is they have to resurvey acreage into a lot through the city's subdivision process. Now from landscape, at the time of permitting, they must provide a detailed landscape plan for review. And then all standard permits and ordinances shall apply for any new construction. Property is not located in a flood area. Now from Birmingham DOT, they stated that we recommend against annexing this property, particularly with the current proposed site plan, because this development would extend our infrastructure commitment to the far edge of our city in a manner that we cannot afford to maintain. The proposed site plan is fully auto-oriented with no meaningful opportunities for access by walking, riding public transportation, or cycling to nearby destinations. This style of auto-centric development results in a spreading of our infrastructure in a way that is unsustainable and problematic. Now, the applicant went before the Overton Neighborhood Association on August 5th, and they voted to support the request with 9 votes to support and 0 against. So if recommended for approval, the committee should consider the following Q conditions. For number 1, the development shall comply with the Birmingham Waterworks Board Cahaba River / Lake Purdy Watershed Protection Policy. For 2, All undeveloped areas abutting Lee Branch shall remain undisturbed. Now, the applicant went before the Zoning Advisory Committee on August 19th, and they voted to not recommend the request with the Q conditions to the Planning and Zoning Committee, with 0 votes to approve and 5 votes to deny. And that's the conclusion of the report.
Before you sit down, can you tell us in that area what opportunities for parking there are if they only had the amount of parking allowed in the ordinance, 96? Where would people park if 150 cars showed up for a Christmas party? I mean, is there some alternative in the area for people to park besides what the developer is proposing?
The shopping center, but I don't think there's really anything else.
And they would require a variance and be required to have 50 bicycle parking spaces?
Correct. So they're actually required more, but we have something in the ordinance stating that if it's over a certain amount of number, you have to have a minimum of 50 bicycle parking spaces. So that would be, if they don't provide those, they have to include that as a request to the ZBA.
Okay, and is there a bicycle lane anywhere nearby for anyone to ride a bicycle?
No, not on 119.
Okay, well, so do y'all have questions for the staff before we move on to the applicant? Or do you? I sort of jumped ahead just because I wanted to know about the parking, because,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you jumped ahead, Madam Chair, well, we'll just wait for comments from the developer and from the public, but,
well, the staff is nearby.
Well, I do have a question about the traffic study. What was the overall conclusion of it?
Okay, I think the
Oh, he
applicant
did.
can speak.
He did, so we didn't do one.
Oh, it looks like
No,
Skipper.
there's one in your packet there, but they can speak on that.
Okay, so they did it, we didn't do it.
Yeah, it starts on page 25 of your packet and goes to 62.
You're a speed reader, right? Okay, so what we will do at this time is we'll hear from the applicant, who I'm sure will be able to elaborate on everything about this request. So the representative for the applicant is Mr. Beavers.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman and council members and Dr. Lee. My name is Charlie Beavers, 4301 Dolly Ridge Road, 35243. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of the applicant. I will introduce the other members of the team who will make presentations. If I may, let me just say congratulations on your long term of service to this city, Councilor Abbott. I'm glad I got to be, I guess this is your last hearing, is it?
Probably is.
Yeah, and
Unless we schedule one for tomorrow.
it was many years ago when I first appeared before you, I think at a neighborhood association meeting, and then through the ZAC and council and, of course, this committee. And it has been a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Blake Brinson is the head of development for the Gulf South Division of STOA, the STOA Group, which is the contract purchaser for this property. And he will present the development plan for it. He can give a lot more details about that. Next, we will have Darrell Skipper with Skipper Consulting, the traffic engineering firm, and he will be able to elaborate on the traffic situation there. And then finally, Kerry Daniel with Gonzalez Strength Engineering, the civil engineering company for the development. He'll answer questions about surface water drainage and other issues of that nature. I will just make a few remarks, and then I will come back, if it's all right, Madam Chairman, to close up our presentation. You've heard some of this, and I'll be generally brief and won't go into all of the detail of what's already been presented by staff, but This is a little over 14 and a half acres on Highway 119. As you know, it's in unincorporated Shelby County. It is currently zoned in Shelby County in two zonings. The front 7 acres approximately of the property is zoned for general business, and the back half is zoned for office and institutional. And as you will see more clearly in the presentation, what is proposed here is that the front half would be zoned for these apartments, front 7 acres, and the back 7 acres would basically be a buffer zone, a natural zone, which is going to put the buildings on this development over 1,000 feet from the nearest buildings and the neighborhoods behind it. The properties on both sides are already in the city of Birmingham. One is the St. Vincent's Medical Facility, right over there on 119, substantial facility. And right behind that, you have other more intense type uses. There's a hotel there and some other kinds of uses right in the immediate area. That's in the city. The cottages at Greystone is on the other side, immediately adjacent to this property, and it is multifamily residential. That property was annexed into this city in 2021. It went through a process like we're going through here with the pre-annexation zoning and then following up with the annexation. And you may recall, that was the first time this city had ever gone through that process. So we worked very closely and for quite an extended period of time with planning staff and with the city's legal staff to develop the process. And that's the process that we're going through now, just a pre-annexation zoning. If it's zoned, then we go through the process of annexing the property into the city. We understand the proposed use has been determined by the planning staff to not be in conflict with the existing comprehensive plan for the city, nor is it in conflict with the Northeast Area Framework Plan. City services, we heard that traffic engineering was concerned about extending city services beyond its boundary, and we're not quite sure we understand that position because city services are already there. The property immediately across the street is in the city of Birmingham and improved with residential apartments and with a very large campus for a church, the Church of Brook Hills. And of course, on either side, the properties are in the city of Birmingham. The city of Birmingham is providing city services there at present. And also, this road, 119, is a state road. The city will have no obligation to deal with that or maintain that. So we don't see the extension of city services as being an issue here. It would also mention auto-centric, didn't want to see anything auto-centric on this site. I can't imagine any kind of site, any kind of development you'd put on this property that's not auto-centric. I mean, people are going to drive there to get there, to and from. So, and the traffic engineering presentation will delve into that in more detail here shortly. I think I mentioned that we have a significant buffer, which if this property was developed in accordance with the zoning that's in place in unincorporated Shelby County, that back 7 acres is owned O&I. This proposal, as you'll see on the site plan, is to leave that in basically an undeveloped buffer area that creates significant distance between properties to the rear, off-site, and the improvements on the subject development. This development will add approximately 460 residents into the city of Birmingham. And it's a significant high-end development, which we'll be giving you more detail about that shortly. We would ask that you, and I know you will, because you see there are a whole lot of folks here who want to speak in opposition to this. We believe that if the facts and circumstances and the details of this proposal are viewed without issue as to how many people oppose and how many numbers there are, but just the facts, what's right, what's in the best interest of Birmingham and what's appropriate for this development, that this development will prove itself to be an asset to the city of Birmingham, in the best interest of the city of Birmingham, and an extremely appropriate development for this particular site. I want to next call on Blake Brinson, the head of development for the Gulf South Division of the Stoll Group, to present, and then we'll have others, and I would like to shortly give a brief closing, if I may. Are there any questions of me before he goes on?
Not now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Carrie's just handing out a couple packets of information. I wasn't sure what was in the items you all received.
And your name
ahead of
is
time.
again?
My name is Blake Brinson. I'm
Blake.
with the Stoll Group. Yes, ma'am. I'm just going to talk very briefly here about us and our background, and then highlight a few components of the development, then hand it off to the rest of the team. We are a vertically integrated multifamily developer based in Louisiana, but a presence here in the greater Birmingham area. We are currently developing a project in Hoover, 289-unit community in Hoover. Our architect is here, and we work very closely with the capital markets team in Birmingham as well. So we develop all across the Southeast and have a track record of building successful communities. This one in particular, I think Christian did a great job of introducing it, is roughly 280 units with a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, roughly a $50 million investment being brought into the city of Birmingham. Christian touched on all the great amenities that we plan to have, and in the packets that I've provided to you all, you'll see some of the renderings for the concept of this development with more of a 4-story urban design. Happy to touch on it a little bit more. That's really all I wanted to say before handing it over to Daryl Skipper to talk about the traffic engineering report.
Thank you.
Ms. Abbott, members of the board, I'm Daryl Skipper, 3644 Van Road, Birmingham, Alabama, representing Skipper Consulting. Ms. Abbott, congratulations. I think when we first worked together, I had color in my hair. Something happened to it.
Too.
Something happened to it. But
Yeah, and Charlie had hair. That was.
we've been here many times, but our task was to undertake a traffic impact study of the development. We are very familiar with the area. There are 2 other multifamily developments, one immediately next door, the cottages, one across the street, which is the Outlook, the development. We did those studies. The St. Vincent's UAV facility, which is immediately on the other side of us, just immediately south to us. We did Tattersall and a lot of other development in the 280 corridor. The process we followed was one that is outlined by the City of Birmingham Department of Transportation in undertaking traffic impact studies, and also is consistent with what is required for the Alabama Department of Transportation. We did the study to meet both standards and submitted our study to both agencies, since we we're looking for input into this process, as well as the Department of Transportation for access to Highway 119. And that included collecting information, traffic counts, not only in front of us, but also at adjacent intersections. We also looked at some of the other apartment complexes in the area to see if what we were going to forecast for traffic generated by this development was consistent with what is happening at the others. What we found, and one of the units we checked was 300 units, the Outlook, and the amount of traffic we're forecasting for this one, to take a conservative standpoint, is a little bit higher than what the Outlook is actually doing as far as the peak hours. And when you look at traffic generation, a lot of us think, okay, peak hour is 7 to 8 in the morning. It's 5 to 6 in the afternoon. Out on 119 is a little bit different. We're basically about 7:30 to 8:30, and we're about 4:45 to 5:45 in the afternoon. So it's a little bit different that we look at it. But we studied those hours and applied the traffic that this thing would generate. What we found, the most critical intersection close to us is the one at Greystone Way that is signalized right at the corner of Tattersall and St. Vincent's UAB. We will be adding traffic to that intersection because a vast majority of our traffic that's being generated by this is going to go either to Brook Highland or toward the Highway 280 corridor. That's evidenced by looking at the traffic from the adjacent multifamily developments and which way they're going. That's what they're doing. That's where the jobs are. That's what they're doing in the morning. They're coming back in the afternoon. Not that no one's going to the north, but it's certainly a small piece of it. What we found is that intersection at Greystone Way will have minimal impacts on it. We're not going to degrade the traffic operations there during the peak hours. What we did, the conclusions were that in order to accommodate the access to this development, the developer should build, we recommended that there be a southbound left turn lane be built into this site at the access and at a northbound right turn lane. That is reflected in the site plan, the left turn lane and the right turn. That was the crux of the study. We submitted to the city and the Department of Transportation. I'll go through the comments that the city staff made in a minute. But the Department of Transportation accepted our recommendation on allowing us to build a left and a right and a single access into the facility. And they have approved in writing our concept to do that. Haven't permitted it because you have to get a concept approved first, then you can do the construction plans, submit with applicable permit applications. They can review the engineering drawings. So we will be prepared to start that process. As far as city comments, the director of the Department of Transportation, he and I talk quite often about philosophy and travel, and autocentric is certainly something to talk about. He and I ran across each other to DOT yesterday, and we agreed to get together in a couple of weeks and talk philosophy. And autocentric is something that we should have been doing a long time ago and looking at autocentric development and the way we develop. In the Southeast, we develop altogether different than a lot. We basically orient ourselves toward cars, period. If you look at what's happening on Highway 280, about 92% of our cars that run up and down that road are single occupant vehicles. We don't carpool. We don't ride the transit bus that much unless that's our only option. We feel like that, and recommended to our client that they make some effort in, one, making this development accessible to what is around it. We have UAB next door to us, St. Vincent's UAB. Certainly we need to be able to walk to that particular development there. The Tattersall is immediately to us. There are a lot of restaurants, a lot of retail. They have sidewalks in their development. So what we've been doing is having discussions with UAB and St. Vincent's in us connecting our walkway system to their walkway system, which then gives us access to Tattersall and all the other medical facilities in the area. So we're working toward that. Someone mentioned there's no bike lane on 119. No, there aren't any bike lanes. I would like to say that we could use the paths that are out there for bike and ped, but they're just sidewalk width. They're not wide enough to accommodate multipurpose. So we can't accommodate that. In looking at transit, the transit system, MAX does serve the 280 corridor, but it goes and U-turns into Walmart up on 280, and we have a bus stop sign and a shelter located there. It's a healthy 23-minute walk from the corner of this site to that bus stop. We've have not had any success in getting the MAX to extend their service down any further. That is something that we all need to be working on, both Shelby County, Hoover, as well as City of Birmingham, because everybody is a player down there and has property down there. It probably does need to be serviced. But at this time, it is not serviced. So you can walk to it, but it's a pretty healthy walk. I think that is our comments. Certainly available for any questions you might have.
Do members of the committee want to ask questions of Mr. Skipper about traffic? Anyone? Well, we don't have any questions right now.
We'll hang around.
now,
If there
but
are some, we'll be glad to respond.
Some may come up.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kerry Daniel with Gonzalez Strength and Associates, 1550 Woods River Trace Drive. I'm the civil engineer for the project. I'm just going to briefly go over the services and the departments we've been working with through this process. There is a slide, I don't know if you guys have seen the slide that begins Development Fits Character Neighborhood, and that shows the proximity of the project to Greystone and Greystone Way. So as I think Mr. Charlie said, it's about 1,000 feet, 1,080 feet to the nearest home, and it's about 1,400 feet to Greystone Way from our project, the entrance of our project.
So which page of which presentation? Are you talking about this presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
And which page are you talking
Let's see.
about?
It's going to be that there's a map, it's a red box, and there's a couple of distances shown. I don't know the sheet number. Let's see. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it's 11.
Okay, you found it. Okay, yeah, we got it. Need my page numbers. Okay, well, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so as Mr. Skipper said, we've been working with Aldott. We do have a conceptual approval for our entrance on 119. Utilities, water services available from Central Alabama Water, which is formerly BWWB, Birmingham Water Works, and Shelby County Water is available. Both of those have capacity for the development, and we have availability letters. Sanitary sewer services available from Alabama Water Utilities and does have capacity to serve the project as well. Power, gas, communication are all available at the site. Sanitation will be provided by a third party, so there won't be any impact to city sanitation services, trash services. We've been working with the city of Birmingham on fire protection. We met with them, presented our plan initially. They had some feedback about location of our driveway. We have made those changes, resubmitted to Birmingham Fire, and they have accepted our current emergency vehicular access and the fire apparatus routing within our site. So they're good with that. For stormwater, we will be just meeting City of Birmingham stormwater design guides to include stormwater attenuation, so detention, water quality, and new channel protection requirements. We've also had a meeting with Birmingham Water Works, the Lake Pretty Watershed Group. They've reviewed our plan, gave some feedback. We've made the changes accordingly. We will have temporary BMPs in place during construction, an ADEM permit as well. There'll be permanent measures such as low impact development. We'll have a certain amount of pervious paving to help alleviate some of and help with water quality, alleviate some of the runoff and assist with water quality. And then there will be structural controls within the detention pond to slow the water and assist with water quality volumes. Let's see, and then one other item, as far as the parking overage, it's our understanding that we can provide pervious paving for the overage of the stalls. So I'm not sure a variance is required for that. At least it was my understanding that it wouldn't be. So it's our understanding that we can just provide pervious paving for whatever's in excess. I don't know if Kim could help with that.
Yeah, for any parking, they can provide low-impact development to offset the over-parking, but that's a comment on there because the site plan shows all parking spaces, so that's why it's on there right now.
So that will be our intentions.
Okay, and tell me again about how you're going to deal with stormwater.
We'll have a detention pond in the back. Let's see. If you go to your next page, it says thoughtful site plan at the top. It shows the approximate location of our detention pond. So we'll be providing water quality, channel protection, detaining the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and passing the 100-year events.
Okay, and the sanitary sewer system, you said that it wasn't attached to any City of Birmingham system? It's private?
It's Alabama Water Utilities. It's a private sewerage company.
So
We'll have a
they-
lift station. There's a force main in 119. We'll have a lift station in our development that will pump up to 119 into the force main.
Okay, thank you. So do members of the committee have questions? Dr. O'Quinn?
Yeah, I have a question for staff. Just curious about I have a question for staff, for the City of Birmingham zoning staff.
Okay.
So, if the zoning staff could come to the mic, please. Thank you, appreciate it. I'm curious about the history of the adjacent development. So that's in the City of Birmingham. Looking at it, it looks significantly different. Can you tell me anything about when that occurred and how it occurred?
Yes, sir. Kim Sproul, I serve as the city zoning administrator. So as Mr. Beaver said earlier, that property went through the annexation process in 2021. And it was a series of annexations. And that property is all of the units are on one lot. It is a multi-family development, but each of the properties is a rental unit. So it was, as advertised when they did their pre-zoning annexation, as a multifamily. It just looks different because they have a variety of housing types on the site. But they are all on one lot and done as a multifamily rental development.
Okay, and tell me about the setback on 119.
So that development has actually established the setback for this property that would be adjacent. So they could go further back behind that established setback, but anything in front of that setback would be what we call in the required front yard.
Okay, and our ordinances regarding front yard parking, was that all in place when that development was done?
Yes, that's correct. They did have some variances for that development as well. For, I believe as soon as you pull in that development on the right, they have their trash compactor and their fencing. So that and the parking had to go through the city zoning board of adjustment for a variance, and they were granted.
Okay. And tell me again, when all of this occurred?
I don't remember when we officially approved the building permits, but it was within the past 4 years.
Okay.
The annexation, the pre-zoning, and then the annexation all occurred around 2021.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from members of the committee or guests?
I have a question.
Yes.
As a guest
Counselor
of the
Williams?
committee, however, the council member of this district, there were two different, in the presentation that we were given, there are two different potential layouts of this development. One is seen on this page that is labeled the flats at Cahaba Valley. This shows the retention pond directly adjacent to the secondary building. The second that we have been shown is the access and improvements approved by AlDOT, which is different from what the previous slide I just showed, which shows a different parking. So which one are we to go with?
The one you're holding up is the actual site plan that's been
Okay, so this
drawn
one-
by us.
Okay.
Yes, the other was just an early rendering.
Yes, Counselor Clark.
I don't know who this question is of, but I know the city staff no longer makes recommendations in these matters. But I'm looking at the developer's presentation where it talks about where they are, I guess, in the approval process, plan review process. And there's an objection. They acknowledge an objection by the Department of Transportation. Do we know what that, has it come out? I know I
Yes.
came late, what that objection is?
I got it
Yeah.
for you.
Okay,
Correct.
I'll read it, that's fine. I'll
I
read the
think that
memo.
was the only objection from transportation.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and address it while it's out here.
Yeah, and as Mr. Skipper indicated, the traffic engineering department here has a sort of a philosophy not to have autocentric development. And we've seen it make that comment on numerous other developments. In other words, properties that are accessed by vehicles instead of a lot of walking. So that was, as we understand it, basically the objection. They want to see something that highlights walking and bicycling and the like, and not be dependent upon cars coming and going to the site. Every development in that immediate area is autocentric. I mean, it's just the nature of that corridor. It doesn't lend itself to a significant amount of bicycling and walking. That said, we are in discussions with UAB, and I've talked with their in-house counsel, and we're in the process of drafting documents which will allow us to connect the sidewalks in this development to the sidewalks at UAB St. Vincent. And those sidewalks eventually wind up getting into the Tattersall development. So we are making some efforts and movements toward having more walkability so that residents in this development can walk to St. Vincent's, can walk to the shops and restaurants at Tattersall. And we're also looking at, with the UAB on working up an additional fire truck access. So we've come to agreement that we're just working on the documents. But the traffic engineering report, as Mr. Skipper indicated, shows that it's not going to stress the level and capacity of the roads systems there. It can handle it. And they've done that based on counts out there, on-site counts, and also observing the traffic generated by other similar developments in the area. So all of the other departments in this city found no issues. Another thing that the traffic engineering report said was they felt like it was stretching city services to add this property out here. But as I pointed out earlier, the city's there. I mean, the services are there. You know, it's across the street, either side. So we respectfully disagree with that assessment. I hope that answers the question.
It more than answers the question.
Okay.
I agree, we are already responsible for roads in that area, so.
Yeah, well, actually, the 119 is a state highway, so the city will not have to deal with that, maintaining that or dealing with it. And we've gotten preliminary approval, that was earlier in the presentations, from AlDOT for the turn lanes and accesses that are proposed for this site. So that's gotten preliminary approval. The city will not have any responsibility with respect to that road system. That's the state.
Yeah, and I'm not asking you any more questions, thank you. But I would have expected more city department input about difficulty serving that area in terms of police protection and some of the other things we already struggle with, but, anyway, but that didn't come up apparently.
Well, there are rarely any objections from city departments. I mean, we don't get much. But knowing that the South Precinct is located in 5 Points South, and that's the one that serves everything out south of Birmingham all the way to the edge, that's a long trip.
And to make a comment
So
from the
response
council member,
times,
yeah, from the
response
council
times,
member that
yeah.
gets the complaints when 911 is called, there seems to be a response time issue on 119 without saying anything further.
Okay.
Okay, and we know where there is a fire station on 280 that's, reasonably close. But they didn't make any comments either, or at least we don't have them right now. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee or other council members who are in attendance?
Yes, actually,
Yes, ma'am.
I see that for zoning, on this right here, for zoning and land use merits or requests, there were concerns about stormwater runoff into the city's primary water source, that they would have to have strict compliance. And now I also see there is strong objection to regional environmental advocates that it would cause harm to the water system. Can you all expand on that?
Yes, Donald Wilborn. I serve as senior planner with the PEP, and that is part of the annexation report. As part of that annexation report, that we do have sort of additional comments from from other city departments about their opinion about this particular annexation case.
Okay,
And
that's a
if you,
concern, our water source, like,
yes, I mean, that comes from, were comments that were made by residents about development in this area. Many of those comments also applied to the cottages at Greystone when it was brought into the city back in 2021, about concerns about how the site would be developed, because behind that site is the Lee Branch, which does run into the Cahaba.
okay.
Counselor Smitherman, just to add to what Donald said, the adjacent property, when it was, the pre-zoning was approved, we included the same 2 Q conditions.
Yeah.
And those are the same 2 that would be recommended if this were approved.
Okay.
And they address the water issue, that the development should comply with the Birmingham Water Works Board, Cahaba River Lake Purdy Watershed Protection Policy.
Okay.
And then the undeveloped areas along Lee Branch should remain undisturbed. Those were the Q conditions that were placed on the adjacent rezoning and pre-zoning case from 2021. And so staff at a minimum felt like those should be included for this piece of property if the council decides to approve it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And as I said, we are working with the Lake Purdy Watershed Group, so we've already met with them.
Okay, I have a question, and maybe you can answer it. Why are we asking for C2 commercial zoning for an apartment building? What is the reasoning for that?
We basically could have asked for 2 different zoning districts. The one is the one adjacent that the cottages of Greystone have. I don't know exactly what it is, D5, I believe, for the multifamily. But this is currently zoned high-intensity commercial use in an unincorporated Shelby County. So we were just trying to stay within the bounds of what that kind of zoning is. We could have chosen D5, but we decided to choose the C2. Both have the permitted use, which is our intent to develop.
Okay, but your intent is to have just residential, not commercial.
That's correct.
And about the amenity of the undeveloped property,
Yes.
is that a, like, permanent commitment by covenant, or will we see a mirror image of this development over in that green space later?
We would be happy to do some sort of deed restriction on it so it can't be developed in the future. It'd be very difficult to develop. The creek separates the property. There's a flood zone in the back of the property. Probably would never make sense to develop. In
That
fact,
doesn't stop developers from it, so.
Yeah. But we'd be happy to put a deed restriction on it. We'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Okay, so other questions?
I just have one question about this present. I know we have a lot of people here and I'm already, anyway, but, you know, this presentation says that the Birmingham Police Department didn't have any objection to it. Who did we talk to at Birmingham Police? Because this is what I'm reading from the official report. After driving the area and referencing the maps, it is already spread out a proposed annex site. The Birmingham Police Department will be able to respond for calls for service for the proposed area, but it would recommend hiring additional officers to be able to patrol the area.
Yes, sir. Those were comments from Chief Michael Pickett. I mean, these were also the same comments that were made about the cottages at Greystone, that the Birmingham does patrol properties in our jurisdiction, but as population grows, there may be a need to have maybe additional officers to do additional patrols.
Okay, but I guess my question is more for the developer, because the developer presented no objection from Birmingham Police. So who did y'all speak to at Birmingham Police?
We were simply going off that report. We did not speak to anybody. That was the report we received from the individual departments. We took that basically as a no objection, given that the objection was clearly stated, or the no opinion was clearly stated by the other departments.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, at the Planning and Zoning Committee, this is not a public hearing. However, since y'all have gone to all the trouble of coming here, is there a spokesman or a couple of spokesmen or women, spokespersons, who would like to speak regarding this issue? Because like I said, the public hearing is actually going to be before the city council when it comes before the entire 9-member council. But we don't want to not hear from you today. We just wouldn't like to hear from all of you. So please come forward.
My name is Christine Goddard. I actually live in Brook Highland at 1517 Wingfield Court. I appreciate you hearing us today because, yes, we did come. This is very passionate for our community. I do want to just address a couple of points. I know when I spoke to staff and when I attended the Zoning Action Committee, it was mentioned that the Overton Committee did make a unanimous recommendation for this proposal. And my question was, there are at least 2 neighborhoods on this corridor, and I don't know if any member of those neighborhoods within the city of Birmingham actually serve on that committee, because the impact for the Overton area is not the same for the Greystone and 280 area, and even Brook Highland and unincorporated Shelby County. And so it was alluded to by the applicant that they're not touching that back 7 acres because it's basically floodway and flood zone. So it makes sense that they would be proposing their development at the front. To answer an earlier question, I actually happen to work for Shelby County as a senior planner, And I was the case manager for the next door property, the cottages at Greystone, when it was submitted to the county for review, much as it annexed into the city. During the course of its review with the county, that evaluation requested they lower the density based on staff comments and service comments, fire, our engineering department, our water services, is that that corridor for 119, though it is a state-maintained road, it is a two-lane road, and it continues a two-lane road all the way into the Lake Purdy area. Outlook at Greystone, Retreat at Greystone, which was actually a City of Birmingham apartment complex that de-annexed into Shelby County, and then Palmer Cove at Lee Branch are all existing multifamily condo rental units that are already on that corridor. During the process of resubmittal, they opted to annex into the City of Birmingham and followed that process. And so just a little history on the cottages and how they came to be. I do want to clarify a point made by Mr. Beavers. There's not a hotel in this area. There is a senior living as part of behind the Tattersall, or behind the St. Vincent's 119. There's a senior living apartment complex as well. I wouldn't consider that a normal generator of traffic, in being that it is a senior living facility. The city comp plan does not address this property because it was not in the city. So it may not be inconsistent with maybe some surrounding areas, but I could not find where this property was addressed in the city comprehensive plan. I just want to clarify that point. There are, I mentioned some, but there are at least 7 other apartment complexes that are in this vicinity, including 2 within the City of Birmingham, the 186 units next door at the cottages and the 300 unit, the Windsor, that was recently finished construction. I'm pretty sure neither of those are at capacity right now. There's at least over 1,000 apartment units just in this corridor right now. So the traffic on 119, the services for that road, though you may have additional turn lanes, there's no protected entrance. At least at St. Vincent's 119, you have a light. And there's another proposed light to come into Tattersall that was turned on to flashing yellow and turned right off. There are plenty of accidents, minor collisions that occur at the light at the St. Vincent's property right now, people coming from Brook Highland and out of Greystone and along 119. So I do have a concern about an additional 430 some odd people at a 35 unit per acre development being proposed on this property. And if most people are heading toward 280, they're turning left, and left is unprotected coming out of this development. If you look at students, I probably see about 2 to 4 students at the Outlook at Greystone that get picked up by a bus. That seems an exceptionally long way for a bus to travel for 4 students. Most apartment complex average 10 to 15% of residents that have children. But if you look at the cost of housing right now, you have folks who can qualify for an apartment that cannot qualify for a home. So I think we're seeing more single children families or single parents living in apartments because that's what they can qualify for, as opposed to some of the more affordable housing that is getting out of touch or just unavailable within both the Hoover and the Oak Mountain school districts. And properties in this corridor are continuously confused when they're in the City of Birmingham for being in either Hoover or Oak Mountain. And a lot of that has to do with their naming. So I wanted to just identify that. I'm just trying to cover it. In Shelby County, this property would also be part of the scenic corridor overlay. It's very disappointing to see the trash cans in the front yard as part of that overlay district, and then front-loaded parking. Swaths of parking lots are not the point of the scenic corridor overlay. The idea is to have front-facing buildings and landscaping. So that's just another concern from a professional perspective looking at that, is it is part of the scenic corridor overlay. And then, you know, personally, the number of apartments concentrated in this location with infrastructure that just cannot support it. You mentioned the fire station, that's up by Target. It's across the Cahaba River for them to be able to service this area. North Shelby Fire, Cahaba Valley Fire, and Hoover all have 3 fire stations that are right there, but none of those are city services. And in speaking with Deputy Chief Yancey at Cahaba Fire, they ran into a lot of issues with the cottages and actually had to stop servicing them because they couldn't get payment for services rendered. And so when you mention response times, I worry about fire, I worry about police and safety, and again, that traffic. The fire department or the police department trying to come down 280 to access these units in the event of emergency. I'm glad that we have mutual service agreements and somebody's life will absolutely be saved. But should they have to wait that long for a city service when there are services nearby? The C2 or B1 or B2, it is B2 in Shelby County right now, which is a general business district. That would allow anything from a mini storage to a Chick-fil-A. It would not allow for multifamily the way that apparently the city's commercial district would allow. So I appreciate you again letting me speak because this is not a public hearing, but I do appreciate you listening to our concerns.
Well, thank you. Does anyone want to ask a question? Counselor? Yeah, don't, but not from back there. You need to come up to the microphone. But
Yeah, I
Counselor
just
Clark
wanted
has
to ask a
question.
little more about the Senate Quarter Overlay District that must be a Shelby County
Yes, ma'am.
zoning overlay. Do we not have to comply with that even though, because that's more unincorporated, that's for unincorporated Shelby County?
It is for
development
unincorporated Shelby County, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, Counselor Clark, we do have a Highway 280 overlay. If the it doesn't apply now because the property's not in the city of Birmingham. However, it could be added as a Q condition if you wanted this particular development to comply with those overlay requirements.
Okay, and just one more thing regarding the cottages. When they did annex that property, they stopped short of the floodway. So the back part of that portion is still unincorporated Shelby County where Lee Branch runs through it.
Okay, Counselor Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I appreciate you letting me, being a guest here as a non-member of the committee, but the response that I have gotten from the good folks down on the south end of my district in this city and their adjacent neighbors of Hoover and unincorporated Shelby County has been really overwhelming. There's a lot of people in the audience today that have shown up to voice their concerns. I've asked Ms. Perry to print out as many emails as we got today, and you know, these are all individual emails opposing it. So, you know, I have over, with phone calls and emails, at least 30 to 45. And as you know, if you got 45 people reaching out to your office, a lot of people don't want something or do want something, as y'all know. So I just, as the council member for the district, I know I don't get a vote in this committee, but I do think that there is, I do think that there are issues with both potential city services, as I'm constantly getting response time issues and the ability to get, you know, I think that we have city service issues right here in the city center. But the amount of complaints that I get from the southern portion of my district, coupled with the amount of interest of this not happening from the public, I would ask that y'all, even though I don't get a vote, I would ask that this move with a no recommendation to the council.
Thank you. Any other council members? Committee members, excuse me. Yes, sir. You want me to come here? Yeah, come to the microphone so we can hear you. And you need to state your name and
Yeah,
address.
my name's Tim Cook. I live at 1221 Perthshire Court, Greystone Legacy in Hoover. And I just wanted to clarify, the gentleman here stated that St. Vincent's UAB development is in Birmingham. It's not, it's in Hoover. So he made it seem like that both sides of this property were Birmingham property. They're not. One side's actually Hoover. So I wanted to make that clear. Also, the Tattersall development's not fully developed, and they're talking about trying to put multifamily over there as well. Skipper's doing the traffic study on that as well, supposed to be updating it. I wonder if those studies have been married up to show just how much traffic is going to be out there once all of this is fully developed. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, come on up. Now, y'all, not everybody. And please pull the microphone down. Thank you. So give us your name and address.
My name is Mary Sue Ludwig. I live at 529 St. Laurent Way in Greystone. To better understand this request before this committee, I'd like to share a little history. My husband and I moved to Greystone in 1992, the beginning of occupation. We have now been here at this area for 33 years. For over 28 of those years, I served on the governing board of Greystone as chairman of governmental affairs. I was also on the Birmingham Chamber of Commerce's 280 task force when it studied the 280 corridor from Homewood to Chelsea. Our development, while in Shelby County, actually is in the city of Hoover. The surrounding properties were undeveloped for the most part and were in unincorporated Shelby County. A large portion of this property is in the 100-year floodplain and were unincorporated Shelby County. Greystone does not get its water from Lake Purdy, but the Coosa River. However, Greystone's developer was very environmentally minded and protected your watershed. The wetlands were developed on and around Greystone to keep Lake Purdy clean. Runoff from the golf club was contained in those wetlands before emptying into Lake Purdy. Developer also had Dr. Dan Holloman, professor of biology at Birmingham Southern, catalog the wildlife and the plants. Dr. Holloman had followed this land for many years and used it as a lab for his students. The residents moving in were encouraged to maintain the property environmentally and respect this land. Not long after the occupation of Greystone, Shelby County Planning and Zoning prepared a land use plan for the 119 corridor from Highway 280 to Lake Purdy. A committee was formed from the landowners in Greystone and property owners on Highway 119, and we worked on this plan for them. I had the privilege of being chairman of that committee. Dr. Lee's property, whose property we're discussing here today, his daughter was on that committee. This plan was adopted by the Shelby County Commissioners unanimously. A copy of this was shared with Birmingham's Planning and Zoning when the Bearfield property was annexed into Birmingham in the last few years. In this report, apartments were kept to a minimum due to traffic and environmental issues. I hope y'all have a copy of this in your file because I shared it with that committee. I tell you this because traffic has become worse. The runoff from the multiple apartments that have been built have clogged Lee Branch, which empties into Lake Purdy. The wildlife has lost its habitat, and the migratory birds are confused because of the many bright lights that now dot this land. We care about Lake Purdy and the surrounding land. It enhances our community. It is being destroyed by overbuilding of apartments that are not necessarily needed. And as the young lady said, there are over 1,000 apartments in that one little strip that's probably less than 2 miles long. We bought our land because it was nicely built, environmentally developed, and protected. It was a haven from the hustle and bustle of downtown Birmingham where a lot of us worked. Now our green spaces are no longer existent, our air is polluted, our roads are clogged, and our property values are being affected. The many apartments that are being allowed encroach on the floodplains. They're not fully occupied, and the prices are not affordable for those who need housing. Monthly payments on these apartments are not as high as some of the rent. Also, because of the many different municipalities who have jurisdiction on this corridor in 280, many different school buses clog our roads morning and afternoon. Not only is this not good for travel, but it's dangerous for our children. The people in this area are not against reasonable development or progress. However, there is a time and place for everything. And now and then, and now is not the time or place for more apartments in our area.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to warn everybody who's here, because I'm sure you'll come back to the council meeting. There's a 3-minute time limit in reality, and we've been a little loose today.
Yeah.
But when you get to the council meeting, it will be more strict. So practice your speech and cut it down so that you will be able to make it. So, committee, are there any questions? Yes, Councilor Clark.
You know, you mind?
No.
Oh, thank you.
That's
So-
why it's committee of the whole too, so.
Okay, so I wanted to, I won't get to vote on this, but I'm glad I came, because I guess without hearing you, I really felt like, I even told some of my colleagues, being a landlocked city, our annexation policy is yes, and our de-annexation policy is no. But I feel like our, Birmingham, the Birmingham acreage that's in Shelby County, a lot of it is conservation land.
That's right.
And I'm really impressed by what was said about you all being trained to respect the land as residents of that area. And that stewardship is vitally important at a time when, I don't know, we don't really know about the governance of our water system. And so I want to just thank you for your vigilance and concern about the environment and the drinking water, and hope that you will stay vigilant as residents of that area, as most of the Birmingham land in Shelby County is conservation land. And I do know that as much as we need, to grow our population in Birmingham, and we need to be thinking about that all the time, that our real interest in annexation in that area was retail development, because, we had lost the retail tax base in our downtown as the, sprawl happened. And so that was always our intention for development in that area, was retail and other types of commercial, not residential. And the residential development south of the Cahaba has been historically burdensome on the city. Yes. And so I'm glad I got to come in here, and I just wanted to share my 2 cents since I don't get to vote. Anyway, for what it's worth, I'm not sure that this is the right thing for
I thank you
this.
for your remarks, because you're on target.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, members of the committee, do we have a recommendation,
Yes.
a motion?
Yeah, so I would like to,
Let's hear from Mr. Beavers, but
Okay.
please be brief.
I will. All of the concerns expressed about protecting the water system, protecting wetlands, traffic, the fire, ability to treat with fire and rescue, have all been addressed in the staff reports and in these experts. Those are always concerns. Every time a project is opposed, you hear all of those things. And the question is, are they problems? Are they legitimate issues? And I would say, based on your own staff reports and the traffic report we've had, and our engineers' report and the plans that have to be approved by all the appropriate governmental entities and entities that protect the water, protect the traffic, protect services, will be met as a condition to this particular development. This property, if it doesn't come into the city, it ain't gonna sit there as a natural greenway. It ain't gonna happen. It's zoned general commercial in the county. Doesn't have to be rezoned. Get a development plan, meet the code, get a permit. The back part, some of which could be developed, which our people will not develop, that entire 7 acres is in fact an environmentally sensitive property. And they're not gonna develop it, but it's zoned O&I. Somebody else could come in there and do what it needed to do to meet the regs and develop it. What is being proposed here is a residential development with a huge buffer and protections of the water system and the greenways. That's what is proposed, and it's proposed to provide housing in this city. I submit to you that it is a benefit to this city to have it. It is not going to make the property better for anybody in the neighborhood if it's not brought into the city and developed in this way, because it will be developed in some way, probably general commercial, if that's what stays zoned in the county. And it could be that the zones in the back, that 7 acres in the back, gets developed in part as well under O&I. I submit to you that the concerns are not legitimate concerns. The concerns are legitimate, but they just don't play out here. They're being addressed. They have been addressed, will be addressed. And that in the best interest of this city is to expand your border there. You're already there, and it brings housetops into your city. And these are very expensive, very nice market units, very high end. It's in your best interest. We submit that to you. And I thank you for letting me rebut.
Thank you, Mr. Beavers. Now, do we have a motion from the committee?
Yes, I would like to make a recommendation that we advance this to the council with a recommendation to not approve the application.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're sending it to the full council without our recommendation, or with the recommendation not to approve, excuse me. Been a long day. So, but we're just a step in the process, and the full council is the group that will make the final decision. So be aware of that, and remember the 3-minute limit on talking. But of course, anyone who wishes to speak is able to talk at those meetings, so that you're not as limited as we are. So we are going to move ahead with our agenda as soon as I find it. And if people want to leave, please leave quietly so that we can proceed. We are now to item 4, the D5 height update. And does anybody from the staff want to comment on our meeting, or should I just tell what we decided? Okay, so Tim, do you want to come forth and pontificate? Okay, so, well, the committee, task force, its exact name, okay, the work group, yes, determined that the D5 height update is that the D5 maximum height will be limited to 35 feet, and that the staff will work on a D6 zoning to accommodate the taller buildings in locations where they've already been built that exceed 35 feet, so that they will not be legal non-conforming uses. Is that accurate? Okay, so So I thought it would be a good idea if the committee just voted our support for the concept that the working group came up with. So does anyone have a motion?
I moved for the committee to support the updated recommended changes to the D5 zoning height requirement
Of 35 feet.
of 35 feet.
Okay, it has been moved
Second.
and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passes, and it will go on to the planning commission next, correct? Correct. Okay, item 5 is framework plan rezoning cases. The first one being ZAC 2025-00011, the North Side, South Side Framework Plan rezoning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Michael Ward. I serve as principal planner with the city's Planning, Engineering, and Permits Department. And what's before you is case number ZAC 2025-11. This case is a proposal to rezone the North Side and South Side communities to align the zoning with the policies of the North Side, South Side Framework Plan, as well as the city's comprehensive plan. On October the 2nd of 2013, Birmingham Planning Commission adopted the city's comprehensive plan, and one of the primary implementation items from the city's comprehensive plan is the development of what's called community framework plans. And the North Side, South Side Framework Plan was adopted by the Planning Commission on June the 25th of last year. In August of last year, planning staff prepared a draft of the proposed zoning for the North Side and South Side communities to align the zoning with the policies of the North Side, South Side Framework Plan, as well as the comprehensive plan. September the 12th of 2024, that's where we held our first meeting regarding the North Side, South Side rezoning at Protective Stadium. And additional public meetings regarding this proposal were held on November the 14th of last year and January the 9th of this year. And at its regularly scheduled meeting on March the 4th of this year, the Birmingham Planning Commission voted 9 yes and 1 no to recommend approval of the rezoning plan. And that concludes the staff report. Let's see, I'm here along with a couple of other members from the Planning and Zoning Division, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, so do any members of the committee have questions? I noticed that the map is wrong for, it has an error, we'll say. Idlewild Circle, all of the single-family homes were to be zoned D3. And that commitment was made a long time ago, and it's not showing on there. So I can see that from here. And it's also on the little Xerox copy that we've got. So the commitment was made that the single-family homes on Idlewild Circle would be zoned single-family. So that needs to be fixed. And of course, since only 9 people in the city voted for this, I don't think there'll be too many people here to talk about it, but, you know, that's the one thing I see. And of course, the Cedars Club property is another one that it got zone D5 or is recommended for that. But if it's developed for D5 and someone puts apartments in there, there is not one single place to park within probably a quarter of a mile that you could park legally if the parking is insufficient. And that was the reason the neighborhood wanted it to be D3. But the commitment was made from the planning department that everything on Idlewild that was single family would remain that way. So that's all I see to comment on at this point in time. Does anyone else have anything?
I got a question. So I'm looking at the area around, what is that? This is basically the south side neighborhood as I know it. So going out First Avenue South to the east. Trying to make this out on the map.
It's hard to see.
Yeah.
Do you want to go up to the big
Yeah,
map where
yeah,
you can
so,
see it?
This area right here, this is mixed use high. Is that correct? All of this? Yes. Okay. So where is 41st Street? 41st going, so it's outside. It's going to be on the, front of the, southern area. Okay, and. And it's outside the area of this particular rezoning. Right. So I don't want to ask anything that's irrelevant there. And this is, 31?
Yeah, that's Expressway, not Expressway.
Yeah, okay. So this is Pepper Place. Okay. All of this is, the vacated railroad right of way. I mean, First Avenue South is here. That's correct. Okay, so like Alabama Ballet is over here. And then the big, warehouse building is right there. Right. Right, that makes sense. I was just trying to understand. I mean, I can see there's not, you know, anything that sort of fits mixed use high right here, right now, but, you know.
Yeah, our understanding is that, I think it's Sloss Docks maybe, or I think it's part of Sloss Docks.
Yeah, I think Sloss owns that property.
That's
right
right.
there.
And from my understanding is that over time, they'd like to see that convert to something mixed use. That's my understanding. Our discussion was years ago.
There's, one of these properties over here that's, back in, this was, 99, I believe, there was a huge industrial fire, and,
I don't remember exactly where it was.
Right on First Avenue where you have to turn at the light in order to go to the old Thomas School and
Right.
J
It's 31st or 32nd?
32nd.
32nd. So the purple in the middle right there, and 32nd is where Marx Brothers, coconut folks are. Right. They're like one of the largest coconut processors in the United States. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what they told me.
Yeah. Started out with a peanut cart. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But the other comment that you had mentioned, Councilor Abbott, about the Highwell Circle, I think the way I recollect it is that, initially, when we first, revealed this zoning plan, a lot of this area here, we were shown as that urban neighborhood district. Right, and so I think what we decided to do, in agreement with everybody, was just to say, okay, well, we'll just go back to, we'll take all the urban neighborhood out and basically just rezone to what's there existing.
But those people on Alamo Circle, they were at that meeting and all said, yes, if we're zoning to single family.
I don't recall that, but what I recall
It's
is
just these
we were gonna go back
houses right
to
here
what
and
was
right
existing.
here. That's where the single family is, not in total.
I know it's not all of it.
And these people are single family over here. So that needs to be fixed because that's a very important commitment that people are counting on. Who live on Idlewild, that they will get to retain their single family zoning because they are single family.
Yeah, they are, but this has been zone B5 for 100 years. But so it's not retaining anything.
So
Yeah,
they
well,
want to retain their single familyness, okay?
yeah, the character of what they are.
Yes, of what they are right now, and have been for the last 100 years.
Those particular homes,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
And I called down here about it, and it was supposed to be fixed, but I don't remember who I talked to.
I got you.
So we need to fix that.
Yeah, we can adjust it. I think one other thing that we didn't point out is that we did make a change here from the planning commission's recommendation. All of this area in the past was shown as general commercial. It's currently zoned R8, which would allow for a planned residential neighborhood. This is where the club and the view is located. And so we divided this parcel into the portion that currently occupies the club and left that general commercial, and then changed the zoning to this large vacant tract to D4, which is equivalent to the R8. So I think that was something that made a lot of sense there. Yeah, so this would allow for like duplexes and lots and that sort of thing. Well, probably multiplexes, but R8 would allow for, it's a planned neighborhood, single-family neighborhood districts that would allow for, I think, single-family on lots as small as 3,250 square feet. But I think you have to offset that with some open space area, that kind of thing. So yeah, D4 would be like, you could do duplexes, things like that. I don't know that the people who own the club have any interest in developing this in any line, but this is kind of equivalent to what's in existence now.
At least that side of the building is bad, slides on this motorcycles.
Okay. All right, so you want us to take a look at these single families over here?
Yeah. And I can walk them on the map for you if you want me to.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Because those people are inspired.
They're inspired?
Inspired.
Is that what you said?
About being what they are now, which is not, it may be zone D5, but they are single family homes.
I got you.
And we couldn't convert them to multi-family without demolish.
Without tearing them down, yeah. They're smaller lots and,
Oh, yeah, they're tiny lots.
yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Three big houses. And then the rest of them, little houses.
I got you.
Right, and also, for a lot of this area, there's also scattered multifamily, but as part of that, we're keeping that D5 so that those existing multifamily would still remain legal non-conforming.
They're all the ones that were turned sideways on the lot, so the doors face the people next door. It's quite a beautiful look. I'm sure it's very pleasant to live in. Motel 6? Yeah, well, it is the Motel 6 look. But they're all real smart. They built them on city alleys, so they could take the alley as their driveway, and then they could cram those things in there. Otherwise, they wouldn't fit. So, anyway. Okay, so are y'all ready?
Yes.
Does anyone have a motion?
I move to recommend the north side / south side framework plan rezoning as proposed,
With the edits,
with the edits.
Idlewild Circles, single-family homes.
Yeah, what she said.
I second that.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we will move ahead with that one. Now we have the next map we won't be able to see, so. They are.
Airport Hills is easy.
But you have to issue magnifying glasses anyway.
Thank you. The next case is case number ZAC 2025-15. This case is a proposal to rezone the Airport Hills, East Birmingham, East Lake, and Woodlawn communities to align the zoning with the policies in the Eastern Area Communities Framework Plan, as well as the city's comprehensive plan. So of course, as I mentioned previously, one of the primary implementation items from the city's comprehensive plan is the development of community framework plans. And the Eastern Area Framework Plan was adopted by the Planning Commission on June the 25th of last year. In August of 2024, planning staff prepared a draft of the proposed zoning for the Airport Hills, East Birmingham, East Lake, and Woodlawn communities to align the zoning with the policies in the Eastern Area Framework Plan, as well as the city's comprehensive plan. On August the 29th of last year, planning staff attended the first Eastern Area rezoning meeting at Social Venture to present the zoning plan draft and to receive public feedback. Additional public meetings were held on October the 29th of last year, as well as January the 28th of this year. At its regularly scheduled meeting on July the 16th of this year, the Birmingham Planning Commission voted 9 yes, with 1 no to recommend approval of the rezoning plan. And again, planning and zoning staff, we're here to answer any questions you may have regarding the Eastern Area rezoning.
Does anyone have any questions?
Just had to go over there and look at it. Yes. I have a motion that we recommend the Southside Framework Plan rezoning to the full council for approval.
Quick note, I think, this is the eastern area. Framework
I'm
plan.
sorry, I said eastern, southern area, I meant eastern area.
Second to the eastern area.
Okay, so it has been moved and properly seconded that we send the Eastern Area Framework Plan rezoning to the full council with our recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passes.
Thank you.
Now we are to item 6, one of my favorites, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, the minutes, yes. Thank you.
No, thank you, you're the best.
Okay, so the only problem, the problem with the minutes were that at the last meeting, we did not hear the case with the 18-wheelers. And the description of the action we took was actually the action for the motorcycle case that was the next case, 00016. So we have to fix that, but it should be a copy and paste kind of thing, so we can either approve it now with the fix or send the fix to everybody after the fact, and then the next planning and zoning committee can approve it, but they won't have been present at the last meeting, so they won't know whether they're right or not. So if y'all trust us to fix them
Of course we
correctly.
do.
Yes. Yeah,
Then-
let's, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with the corrections.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So that passes, our minutes pass. And we will get the corrected minutes to everybody to read. And then the next planning and zoning, maybe the motorcycle people will be back and someone can contemplate them. So thank you to everyone, and we are adjourned.
All right.